here at 7:35 and just make sure I'm restating it so the transcription gets in the transcription. So just so everybody knows, this meeting is being recorded per the vote of the town that requested that everybody's meeting gets recorded, and in accordance with state and Mass General Law. And this meeting is being conducted remotely. So we have a couple things on our agenda I'm going to take out of order. I know, JP, you're in here for a very brief time. You said you could stop in really quick.
Yes.
Would you, I know you're interested in potentially joining the board, right? If you tell us a little bit about yourself. I know it's not up to us, it's actually up to the select board to appoint you. So if you haven't yet, submit a letter of interest to them, and we can let them know. They usually reach out to us and say, hey, this person is interested, what do you think about them? So we'll let them know you met and our thoughts.
Okay, thanks. Sure. Yeah, I'm JP Parnas. I live up on North Ave. I've been a resident here in Mendon for 8 years. I was in Natick before that, and had been on both the Disability Commission and the Historic District Commission in Natick. And I was also on the Police Building Committee here in Mendon, sort of the second half of it, at least.
We're on the Historic District Commission here too, right?
I was for a little while. Yes, that's right. Yeah, I ended up not having enough time to keep up with that one, but I was on both at some point. So I've been an architect for 30 plus years, doing a lot of public work, mostly public bid projects. Done schools, work on public works departments these days. Also, as an aside, a little bit of a photographer. I've been a furniture maker, but I'm really interested in particularly the physical environment of our town. And you know, it's hard to see that linked directly to economic development, but I believe it is. I think you know, having places for people to walk to, having a positive environment, physical environment for that, I think is really important. And I guess I'm sort of coming at it with that side of things, especially as an architect and thinking about city planning and other stuff like that. That's kind of where I'm coming at from. As Tom mentioned, I unfortunately realized a little too late that I'm in a class right now that happens to meet on Wednesday evenings, and you guys meet on Wednesday evenings. So while I am very interested in joining, I wouldn't be able to commit until sort of the end of July. I don't know what your summer schedule is, but in any case, I think the class ends on the 18th or something, or the 17th, so it would be after that I would commit to it. Yeah, I'm not sure what other information would be useful. That's kind of my elevator speech, I guess. I ride my bike a lot around Mendon and surrounding towns, and you know, I see a lot of people walking, and I find it frustrating that there's really very little sidewalks and people trying to walk places, and it looks really unpleasant. You know, so again, I don't want to be too single-minded on it, but I do think supporting economic growth and development with the infrastructure that follows it is really important. That's, I guess, the main point. You know, we have a lot of houses getting up in the area, and I don't, you know, it's difficult to remember that the infrastructure to support all that new housing and people, it needs to be there too. So that's, I guess that's where I'm coming at.
Well, with a background like yours and the interest, I think the town has a lot of opportunities for you.
Okay, that'd be good. Well, I was really interested in getting the planning board, but I realized it was too late to nominate myself. So maybe next time.
Well, there's next year.
Yeah.
There will be an opening.
I understood that. Yeah.
I can speak to JP personally. I briefly served with you on when we were discussing the Historic District Commission.
Yes.
Sorry, my dog. She all of a sudden decided that she's excited about something. Not sure what. Toffee, stop. I think it's actually the.
I got two of them.
I think it's actually the washing
They're
machine.
downstairs.
Toffee, stop.
How does the transcript read that?
Yeah, right.
It's the washing machine. I apologize, guys. But yeah, I can speak to JP Partners as knowledge and on this and other matters, and especially architectural matters. Being an architect, I served with them on the Historic District Commission when we were trying to present that before town meeting. So yeah, I'm definitely on board with having you aboard. I mean, it's always great when we have people interested in this committee. We have somebody else who's interested as well, Falgun Patel, who I reached out to have him ask if he would come tonight. I don't see him here. Hopefully we can get him at the next meeting. JP, have you, and sorry, if I remember, you do go by JP, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. So, did you actually submit a letter of interest to the select board about this yet?
I have not. I thought I would want to meet with you folks first before I did that,
well,
but I would like to do that.
If you do, we can say that we did meet with you. And Tony, I don't know what if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, nothing specific. JP, nice to meet you. We're always looking to add more people to the committee, getting more voices and more opinions as well. Just more help in general. So yeah, so I'm glad you're expressing interest, and it sounds like your background, like Jack said, is right up our alley for this. So yeah, I hope you send in that letter of interest.
Thanks.
Thank you. So yeah, I think that the committee is in support. So we're happy to let the select board know.
Great, I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you very much. I don't know if you have to get back to your class, but you're more than welcome to hang around and listen to our updates.
Sure, I will briefly, and then I'll have to jump out, but
okay,
we'll hang around for a little bit. Thank you very much.
Sounds good to me.
Now,
next up, Jack Hunter is here, the town planner. Thank you so much for joining us. I know there's been some updates, master plan related updates lately, and I was wondering if you could give us a brief update on where we're at in terms of the master plan.
Well, just for JP's information, I'm retired and I got somehow talked into coming back and helping out on a very part-time basis. And to answer Tom's question, I got here about 2 years ago.
You never truly retire in town government.
Well, I know it's brutal. I never realized that when I retired. The master plan is complete. It's award-winning. They're giving out an award tomorrow night at the Regional Planning Committee annual meeting. And it's very well done. I only participated in one section of it because I came in late and I have so many limited hours, I just couldn't hang in there. So I did participate in the affordable housing section. It's kind of my little niche, but one of my niches. Anyway, to answer Tom's question, it's complete. We received a second grant through CMRPC, our regional planning agency, and we have signed a contract to have them do a diagnostic, is what we call it, of our zoning bylaws. And in some fashion, the map and the zoning map. And I've done these several times. The idea is they'll do a diagnostic kind of from a neutral, state-of-the-art, because zoning statutes and legal decisions change all the time, to see if it's up to speed, what's incorrect, what's legal, what isn't, blah, blah, blah. So they're doing that diagnostic as we speak. We are then going to start talking about those issues that they've come up with and other issues. And we've polled all the department heads about issues appropriate ones that they may have with zoning they'd like to see, zoning that they have problems with. The building commissioner is very key in this because he has to interpret it and be the enforcement agent on it. We've gotten a lot of feedback from conservation, from the town clerk's been very helpful. She deals with it and's been here a long time and knows the where the battles have been. From my point of view, my message was, and this is one I learned through the years, is and Tom is on our ZBA, so this is good for Tom. Nonconformity are always a pain in the butt for every town that's been around. Non-conforming lots, non-conforming houses, non-conforming structures in general, uses, and the law changes all the time. Every time a court or a judge makes a decision, it changes. And so the lesson I've learned is to pay a lot of attention to the nonconformity language we have and make sure it's up to speed to give the building commissioner and the ZBA as many tools as it can have legally. So that's one thing I wanted them to look at. And we've had one meeting and it was just myself, Dylan, who's the assistant town planner, who I think you guys met. I guess it was just us. Oh, and was another person on the call. It wasn't Bill Ambrosino, who's the chair of the planning board. Maybe it was Damon. Anyway, we went through and all the things that we've experienced and things like ADUs, assisted dwelling units. You probably dealt a lot with those, JP. We don't have a bylaw, and shockingly, the building commissioner has been issuing him kind of and he's pretty good building commissioner by the seat of his pants. And I don't think he has much legal backup, but he's doing it and no one's complaining. So I don't know. And things like, and then we went through a whole host of housing issues. Up until last town meeting, you could not do any multifamily housing in Mendon. You could do duplexes, but you couldn't do any more than that. And housing is an issue. It's a big issue. Either housing, as I say, affordable housing or housing that's affordable. It's still an issue, and we need to think about things like that. So we talked about starter homes. We talked about tiny houses. We talked about ADUs. About multifamily and what's appropriate, what isn't. So those kind of things as far as housing is concerned. We talked about some of the zoning issues I've run into is that our commercial zone, which we have very little of, but the one along Cape Road Highway Business, this was not intentional. I know it wasn't, but it does not allow single family houses. And it doesn't seem on face value that that's a big deal, except that all the lots along Cape Road are serviced by water from Hopedale. And Hopedale has a moratorium that they will not service any commercial development. And so if you can't do commercial and you can't do single family, you own property that is absolutely useless. Can't do multifamily here. You can't do single family in that zone, and you can't hook up for water for commercial. So, I can update you on we're trying to get that changed, not
I'm
the
just
zoning piece.
stating
but-
just briefly, I'm recusing myself from this portion of the conversation as a employee of Hopedale.
Yeah, I wasn't going there. I'm just talking about zoning. That I think to our consultant, I suggested we change that and allow single family houses. It's not 100% appropriate there, but we should allow property owners to have that opportunity. And we talked about drive-throughs and regulating them, and I probably am forgetting half of the things we talked about. I'm really interested to see what they come up with a diagnostic that will be interpreted into rezoning some of the bylaws, if not a lot of them. I don't know how many. And possibly the zoning map, which is always a big deal. And then we have the task, if we come up with something, how do we approach town meeting with that? And that's a big decision, because if you go in one fell swoop, you might leave with nothing. If you maybe take it a little at a time, you may get what you want. So I make no judgment on that. I don't know what's the best course, but I think time will tell. So this is a couple year. I think we're under contract with them till December of 25. So we got time. So that's the master plan. You're on mute, Tom.
Can you just kind of expand on the comment you made about the multifamily at the town meeting? So, because obviously there's also a difference between residential multifamily and commercial multifamily. So are you saying that we couldn't do it previously and now that the townspeople have voted that we can? So what's
right? Previously, no, there's no allocation of multifamily in the zoning in Mendon. However, if you can recall, last spring of 23, we came up with age-restricted multi-use district, which and the whole idea is to allow small commercial development with an age-restricted community to be kind of developed together.
Mhm.
And that passed. So there we have multifamily. And in fact, and I'll update you on this, where the driving range is, the overlay district, that was one of 3 places we put the overlay district. And we just permitted just that, 44 units of age-restricted housing, and a small grocery store, and a outer building, which supposedly is going to be a nail salon or a hair salon. I'm not sure. We just permitted it. I just recorded the decision last week. So they have a long haul. They have a lot of DEP issues. It's kind of wet back there. I think our engineers are comfortable with what they're proposing. We put a lot of caveats in that decision to protect ourselves. I believe conservation is going to approve it the first week of June. And then it really is the Board of Health with their septic system. That's a bit of a challenge, but we had the engineer for the Board of Health come to our meeting, and I asked him this question: do you see anything that will prohibit this project from moving forward? He said no. He said might be changes to the septic and how it looks and where it is and how it operates, but it won't change the basic concept of the project. So pending that, I think we might see something there, and I think it'll be very good for the town of Mendon. And it kind of, when I heard JP talk about a walkable community, I've challenged people, and I don't think I've challenged you, but where's the downtown in Mendon? I've gotten two answers. I've gotten two answers, mostly no answer, but I've gotten the answer of where town hall is and the post office, which is totally unwalkable unless you want to take your life in your hands.
Yep.
And the car area where the car dealerships are, which is craziness. So it's a problem. It's an identity issue, I think. Not that this development's going to solve that, but it will be a nice grocery store with a walkable community, albeit a small one.
It'd be a start. Good. Okay.
Yeah, it's a start. That's right. Because we have two other areas designated for this. One is down on Uxbridge Street. It kind of straddles Uxbridge and Hartford West. It's yeah, we had a minimum, I think, of 5 acres you had to have. This one's bigger. And then the other parcel is kind of opposite the new marijuana store on Milford Street on 16. I don't know if you know.
They're already grading over there.
Oh, I don't think so.
Right where the new developments are, the marijuana shop. They're right across the street. They're doing something.
I think that's
Really?
that's a self-storage unit that's going to go.
Oh,
in there.
that's our property. We sold
That's
that
true, right?
property. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I meant farther toward Hopedale.
Yeah.
It's Bob Sweet owns the property. It's about 37 acres. I've had conversations with him, but he hasn't done anything that I know of. So we have that. I can, what else? We have a new development coming in front of the board starting on Monday. It's at the corner of North and Milford, that little corner there. A bank and a small retail store are being proposed. Now, the reason they can happen that way is because under Title V, if you're not serving the public and there's a certain, well, you probably know this, JP, there's you don't qualify, or it's not mandated to have a public water drinking supply. And that would then blow everybody out of the water because you have to have a 400-foot radius, and it makes things impossible. But they fall under that threshold, so they can just have a private well. I've seen sketches of the plan. They haven't submitted them. They're submitting them Monday. So
You said that's on the corner of North and Milford?
Yep.
Are they putting it where the mini mart is, or
across the street? Right next to our property. We own the property where the senior center was proposed behind it.
Gotcha.
Right, there's sort of a corner that
it's privately owned. Yeah.
I don't see, in my line of work, I don't see many brick and mortar banks going up anymore. So I guess
I know, and it's not just a drive-through. It will have a drive-through. So I haven't seen it again.
Can I ask, do you know what the status is of the Route 16 redevelopment?
I do. The last I knew, they were at what we call 75% design about 6 months ago.
Okay.
I have to assume they're at 100% now. The plan was that for them to go out to bid next spring and then, hire a contractor and next summer to start seeing from Hartford West all the way to Hopedale line.
I see. And is the plan still to have that small rotary?
No, that got scrapped. The state didn't like that plan. The developer kind of liked it, but he relinquished, and he'll have a signal there.
Oh, good. I think that's much better, actually.
And that's it. And we had our traffic engineer vet that with the state and with us.
Okay.
We'll certainly have our traffic engineer look at the new one I just talked about at Milford and North. I am concerned about circulation there. I haven't, they're
Yeah.
coming in with a traffic plan. I haven't seen it, but that's pretty tight there. And they supposedly have met with the state, and whatever they're proposing, they'll be doing it in concert with the state's design plans. As far as other development, there's a proposed on Cape Road, 35 Cape Road. There's a small building, I think it's 17,000 square feet of contractor yards. There'll be bays that, I don't know if he's condoing them or just subletting them. A series of bays so that a contractor, a plumber, electrician, whatever, can have a little office and a bay to park his van or whatever, and supplies, and it makes a lot of sense. I've done several of these and they're very popular. I don't know how far away they are. They have a problem of water. Now they fall under the public drinking supply threshold, but it's a commercial development, and so they can't get water. They can do a well. I think they're gonna have to unless something changes, but so we got that too. And then already permitted and vetted is at 23 Cape is a 210,000 square foot distribution center that took a long time of permitting and arm wrestling and peer reviewing, et cetera, et cetera. They actually bought some land to expand the intersection onto Hartford East so that there's more room for trucks. Yeah, we went through a whole series of acoustical peer reviews, traffic engineer peer reviews, environmental peer reviews, you name it, we did it. But I think it'll be a pretty good project. Now, coincidentally, they're building wells, but they are also under the threshold because they don't serve to the public. And they're underneath the threshold for employees. They don't employ a lot of people. But they needed, this is very interesting. Now, Tom, you can recuse yourself. They needed fire protection. So they paid the town of Hopedale $250,000 for the right to connect for fire protection. And so they will have sprinkled system. They couldn't build it without a sprinkled system. I mean, I guess they could have done cisterns and pumping tanks and all that stuff. I've seen that done, and they're gonna have private, and they're gonna have private well for their potable water. That just closed. They just closed on the property. They were waiting for final Mass DOT approval on the intersection. They did get that. And I believe they applied for a building permit. I don't know if they got it yet, probably not, but they applied. So that's gonna be happening. I think that's all I got.
Jack, do you have any, and you might have touched upon it already, do you have any update on just generally where the master plan stands? I haven't heard too much from Bill about getting it approved by the select board and actually getting the ball rolling on it. It sounded like it was still kind of in limbo with getting
Great
it going.
question. Well, master plans, some towns actually even get town meeting to approve it. I would not try to do that. I believe the selectmen did approve it. I know the planning board did. And we had a brief conversation with CMRPC about and with others who were involved in the master plan about instituting a implementation committee and I've done this too, we kind of call out all the recommendations by groups. Okay, here's what the Board of Health we are recommending in all the different categories, and Planning Board will have a lot of them. Even EDC will have some, and then we would come to you and like a meeting like this and say, here's your list of things from the master plan. Let's talk about it. And what are you willing to try to institute? That kind of stuff.
Okay.
So it's coming, Bill's having some health issues. He seems to be better. He's the driving force on this. But he's got some staff now, so we'll probably start seeing some changes. And Dylan, she's not full-time in Mendon, but she's more than me, and she'll probably be taking charge of that and other things. And gradually I'll be really retired and she can do everything. No offense to you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Jack.
So I think that's what's happening. Oh, I know. We should talk about the water study. Since and I remember I was telling my wife I had a meeting with you guys today, and I said you guys were one of the first committees I ever went to when I started here. And from your committee onward, everyone has talked to me about the need for public water. And I just kind of explained a little bit about that. The fact that we're beholden to another town is not good for anybody. Even in Hopedale knows that. They don't even want to sell us water. They want us on our own. There are all kinds of stories, and some of them turned out to be true about where water could be, and that we got tons of it, and da 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 da. So I wrote a grant to the state, and we received it, and we got an earmark from the legislature, and we hired a firm called Woodard and Curran. I've dealt with them a little bit before on environmental issues. They have a whole water section. And that was 2.5 years ago, right when I started. And since then, we've received 3 grants and 3 earmarks for the tune of probably about $600,000. And we have been working very hard at first, obviously looking at what's been done in the past, where things might be as far as water is concerned, who gets water in Mendon, and what arrangement, because there's all kinds of arrangements for water. It's pretty bizarre, actually. Most people, there's about 147 buildings, most of them residential, who get water from Hopedale through our water commission. Then there's, I think it's Blueberry, no, not Blueberry, Bayberry. There's a small new development in Mendon that you have to access through Hopedale in the kind of near the Hopedale border, parallel to Route 16, that is completely serviced by Hopedale, but under private agreements. Everybody that lives there has a private agreement with the town of Hopedale. Then we have up to, I think, the marijuana place, or maybe a little farther. Those commercial entities are serviced by Hopedale too, private arrangement. Town has nothing to do with it. It's a private arrangement. So they researched that. We also went and met with every abutting town. I went to every single meeting to talk to them about, do they have water, and we were looking at wastewater as well. And is there any opportunity to partner, to join in, to try to lessen our burden, if you will? And not surprisingly, the few that had water said no thanks, but no thanks. We're keeping it all to ourselves. there was a slight possibility that Uxbridge in a couple years might have capacity to sell us. But then we're in that beholden situation again. I'd like to think it'd be better, but so we walked away with the notion that we have to do this ourselves. So the next step was to what they called a desktop analysis. They looked at all the aquifer maps and tried to identify parcels that were easily accessible, that the town owned, preferably. And they came up with 4 parcels of land, or sections of land, 2 of which we own. One next to the senior center and the DPW, and one behind the cemetery on Providence Street. The other 2 were privately owned. And so we looked at, through the grants, we wanted to do some sampling. And the first place we went was to the senior center. We actually got a rig back there, did some water sampling, and the capacity wasn't there. There's water there, and it's pretty close to groundwater, but the level's pretty high, but it wasn't suitable. So the second place we went, because we're trying to avoid the private sector here, was this. We own quite a bit of land behind that cemetery, but it's only accessible through an easement that we own. And it's very difficult to get to. We had to do tree clearing, DPW cleared all the trees. We sent out the rigs and they started drilling, and they did not hit the water they wanted. So they moved it a little to the east, southeast, quite a bit actually, still on our property, and they hit some. They hit a very good aquifer, and that it pumped out enough capacity, and the quality wasn't bad. Still have to be treated. So that's kind of where we're at right this second. We are now we're doing some more testing out to this one find we had, and we're going to do more. We just had a meeting with DEP. We're going to do some water management drilling, where we're going to send a drill out there and pump water for a week to see if indeed it's as potable and as rich as we think it is. Do all kinds of water testing and start designing a treatment plant and concept, and most importantly, coming up with financial analysis on what this is going to cost. And, I've talked to a lot of people about this. I have no idea what the town's going to do. I don't. It's a big nut to crack, having people to pay for a public water supply that might not even service them. It hopefully would, but we don't know that. We haven't gotten that far. But at least we've identified it. We've protected it. We own it. We can access it. So even if it's 50 years or 100 years from now, we've done a lot of work that I think will be very beneficial to this town in the future. And I'm not making any predictions about what's going to happen. Eventually, the selectmen will have to make a decision on whether to pursue this financially or not. They're not ready yet. We haven't presented them anything yet, but we have some concepts of connecting it to Cape Road, so then we can own our own system, and to connect it to Milford Street, Route 16. They're the 2 hot spots where we really would like to connect to. We've talked preliminarily about a tank behind the car dealerships. I guess there's an old airport there that we own, and putting a tower there. these are all very preliminary and really not for the public because we don't know for sure. So that's I spent a lot of time on this. When I was planning director in Carver. Carver's about twice as big as Mendon. And we did the same exact thing you guys are doing. We started from scratch and we ended up building it. And it's been very beneficial to the town. It took them a long time, but they came up with the money for it. Some of them begrudgingly, but
Can I ask a question on that?
yeah.
I'm curious. Is there any parallel research in understanding as we get more and more, particularly housing development in the area, you know, and having more and more little private wells everywhere, what the impact of that is generally?
You know, it's a great question. I always use the analogy, and I did this in Carver. I'd rather have one well-regulated big straw in the ground than 5,000 little straws who knows what's going on.
Right.
I haven't ever read one. There has to be some out there. You know, and I've talked to many environmentalists, especially locally, and they think a public water supply is actually an environmental project too, to help save the aquifer.
I would think so.
And it's coincidentally very beneficial to affordable housing because you can do some massing, not huge massing, but you can at least do some. It's so difficult to do affordable housing with no public utilities.
Right.
It's not impossible, but it's a great question, JP.
Yeah.
That's a great EDC question. That's the way I look at it.
Good.
Anything else you want me to talk about, Tom?
I think you pretty much covered it on all counts.
You know more what's going on than I do. I don't know.
What was that?
I know maybe theoretically you have a new town administrator tonight. I don't know that, but
yeah, I wouldn't know.
In theory, they're interviewing 3 finalists. They look good to me on paper, but I don't know any of them. So yeah, we'll keep trudging along, and we'll see where it goes. We'll keep you guys apprised. I promise you that. Either Dylan or I will try to keep attending your meetings periodically and give you updates.
Awesome. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you so much for coming. I don't have any other updates on my end.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Thanks, Jack.
I don't know. I'm assuming Falgoon will want to come to a future meeting. I don't have any minutes to approve right now. I don't have any updates on the open for business breakfast. I kind of need to poke Jeannie Hebert on that. All that's left is, do we want to schedule for the 4th Wednesday in June? June 26th, 7:30.
That can work for me right now, yeah.
Okay. All right. That sounds good to me. Let's get that on the calendar. Barring that, do you have any thoughts on what Jack talked about, either of you? Beyond what he said?
I mean, it was just nice to get a bunch of updates. We haven't heard
absolutely
much on a lot of that, so it was good to get updates.
Yeah, I mean, it's like one of those things where nothing happens until it does, right? And then it all happens very fast.
Yeah, I mean, we hadn't heard much about the water in a while, so that was good to hear about. Kind of stinks that it's on the other side of town from where they need it to be, but no, it was good to hear all those updates.
Absolutely. And hopefully we can continue being in touch with him. It sounds like when the master plan is at the place, the the action items will create themselves.
Yeah, I think the big thing is just us trying to work with them to make sure that the plan keeps rolling along and it doesn't stagnate.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it sounds like the next piece of it is going to be once the implementation piece of it gets started. Which, it sounds like once that happens, it's going to be our time to get our pieces going and that sort of thing.
Yep.
So, all right. Do you have anything else?
No.
JP, do you have anything?
Not at the moment, but I appreciate you.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
And we're happy to give you our stamp of approval to you coming aboard.
Great. Well, thanks. I'll prepare that letter.
All right. Perfect. All right. Well, I'm gonna accept the motion to adjourn till June 26th.
So moved.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you so much. You guys have a great night.
All right. Good night,
Thanks
guys.
very much. Nice to meet you.